9 minutes. T-minus 8 minutes. T-minus 7 minutes. T-minus 6 minutes. T-minus 5 minutes. 3 minutes. T-minus 2 minutes. T-minus 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
Oh boy, do we have a show for you today, everybody. Coming in hot on the RP show. It is Canada's daytime sports talk show across Canada on Game Plus TV and 32 U.S. states. And I'll tell you what, brother, we got so much breaking news and very little, well, some good, some isn't good. Yeah, I'm your affable host, Rod Pedersen. Hulk Hogan passing away at age 71 today. That has just come down. Hulk Hogan passing away at age 71 today. We've got news on the World Junior players from 2018. We got Les Lazaruk riding shotgun today with Moose Dupont still on vacation. Moose not here, but I talked to him yesterday, and he's doing great. Les, how are you doing as we set sail here on hour one of the RP show on Game Plus TV?
Really good, Roddy. It's a great Thursday. It's a game day for the Saskatoon Berries, so we're getting set and ready for that. And yeah, the news that you're bringing down regarding Hulk Hogan is just incredible. Of course, one of the greatest of all times when it comes to professional wrestling. And Hulkamania has been a little bit quiet today, very saddened as a result of what's happened.
What a great poll question that would be. Who is the GOAT of pro wrestling? For me, it is Hulk Hogan. So I just found this out 10 minutes ago. So we got a lot to get to. Everybody get your coffee, fill it up, take your places. I will say this, my buddy Chris from the Bronx, who is my closest friend in South Florida. He gets upset if I say anybody else other than him. He said he was jealous watching you and me talk yesterday. I said, what are you jealous of, Chris? He coached high school baseball in New York. He goes, you and Les calling baseball in that great weather up there. And I'm like, well, it is fantastic. Les and I will both admit that it is fantastic. Okay, so Hulk Hogan's passing away at age 71. Here's the other As breaking news before I even get to the quick six show topics, an Ontario judge is delivering her ruling in the sexual assault trial of 5 former members of Canada's World Junior Hockey Team, saying she did not find the complainant's testimony to be credible. Superior Court Justice Maria Caroccia said today the court cannot meet its onus of proof for the charges in the case. She is still reading the reasons for her decision as we go to air right now, and she hasn't officially ruled on the charges against each player. I'll go back and say this again. She says, the judge says she did not find the complainant's testimony to be credible. I hate when sports and news intersect. I can't stand it, and that's all I'm going to say about this. We're not the CBC or CBC News World. I'm leaving this to them. We're moving on. So the big story in the quick six show topics, it's going to be the CFL, okay? It's the kickoff of Week 8 tonight. I'm going to get to that, Les. But as I was driving down here in my Dodge Hornet from Western Dodge, I flipped on satellite radio. I flipped on ESPN. They were talking NFL. And the very first thing they talked about was the Miami Dolphins being soft. And I'm like, I didn't even have it on for 5 seconds. My heart just got warm. Oh, NFL coverage. Camps are on. So there's a big story there. Are you following any of NFL training camps right now?
I do, just because when I turn on the TV at home to catch up on what's going on in the world, that's what comes up. So, even TSN Sports, I mean, they're sending Farhan Lalji and Dave Naylor out to various NFL training camps. They had Dave Naylor over at Buffalo's camp today, or yesterday at least. So, You're getting your NFL coverage, and I'm getting updated on things like that.
Yeah, well, I was watching a clip yesterday from Dolphins training camp, and it was had the media in a tent. And now I've been down there going on 5 years. Like, I'm looking at all the reporters. I'm like, oh, there's David, there's Chris, there's Jordan, and they're all excited. There's Casey, and it's Tua's coming to the microphone. I'm like, oh, man, this is so big. But we'll get into more football, NFL tomorrow on a Football Friday. Because as far as I'm concerned, before all of this hit the fan today, Week 8 in the CFL kicks off tonight. It was voted Canada's Game of the Week by our viewers, Les, and I'm a little surprised. The CFL best Calgary Stampeders are set to host the Montreal Alouettes tonight. The 5-1 Stampeders are riding a 3-game win streak with their average margin of victory being 18.7 points. They're dominating everybody. The Calgary Stampeders. Montreal comes in 4-2, but they don't even have their number one quarterback playing. Davis Alexander, McLeod Bethel Thompson, the backup will start tonight. I was reading the game notes. It's not that scintillating, folks. It's not that scintillating. But the country's on fire about this game tonight, Les.
Well, they're on fire because, like you say, Calgary continuing to just blow away the competition. 2 times over Winnipeg and once over the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So they are the best team in the West, and now they can maybe cement that hold on best in the CFL as of this moment, as we pass the 1/3 mark of the regular season. It's hard to say that the Calgary Stampeders have a better team in front of them coming up here right now. So they beat Montreal, the so-called best team in the East.
Oh. If they beat Montreal, the best team in the East, did we lose less? Did we lose? I'm live, right? He froze. It's all good. I'm just asking if you got me. So anyways, we'll get Les back. I think it's funny because last week, Jim Barker on Football Friday is like, if Calgary wins tonight in Winnipeg, they're for real. It's not that bold of a statement. They did win, and I thought they were for real before that. I don't know what Les was saying. I was hanging on his every word. He's got to hit refresh, Les. If you're watching this, you'll get it. But again, he was saying if they beat the 4-2 supposedly best in the East Montreal Alouettes, freeze. So while we get Les Lazaruk back, by the way, the voice of the Saskatoon Berries and Saskatoon Blades and my brother from another mother, we'll have to get him up to speed on this, but I'm going to tell you people right now the poll question today for EMJ Marketing, which, by the way, transform your business with EMJ Marketing's all-in-one marketing and speaker services. Find out more at emjmarketing.com. What's the biggest story in the CFL season so far? I'm scintillated to know what you all think. Is it Luke Wilson, the CFL on TSN sensation and former Seahawks tight end who won a Super Bowl, who's polarized? He's like the Don Cherry of football right now. I think we can say that. Is it the 5-1 Calgary Stampeders? Is it the 1-6 Ottawa Red Blacks that they're dead last in the league and they're supposed to be on this resurgence? Or is it something else that I haven't thought of? And just so you know, the poll question is, or the leader is the 5-1 Calgary Stampeders. But I've only had the poll question up for like an hour. I'm voting for Luke Wilson. And here's what the people in our industry do understand. I feel like the viewers do not. This is trackable data now. So I would suggest there's been far, far, far more talk and impressions on Luke Wilson than there has been on the 5-1 Calgary Stampeders this season. I mean, I'm voting for Luke Wilson. My God. I walked into the ballpark last night at Roswell's Park here in Moose Jaw, and the first guy's in my face going, oh, you're talking about Trump on the show, huh? Why are you talking about Trump? I'm like, oh. But then I go up to the press box to get ready to broadcast the game, and what are they talking about? Luke Wilson and his Twitter wars and him stuffing guys in body bags on Twitter. I'm like, well, it is entertaining, but that's what they're talking about. Johnny Manziel with the impressions that he caused online. That's how we track this stuff. So that's the poll question. We will get into that and more when Les joins us when we return after this first time out. We'll get more deep into it here on Game Plus TV and streaming live.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
All right, we're back, everybody. I will tell you the Western Dodge text line is open, 902-518-3033. Proud partners of the RP Show, Western Dodge and Moose Jaw, big city selection with small town service. Les Lazaruk co-hosting with us, and for those that jumped in late, all kinds of news hitting the fan today. Hulk Hogan dead at age 71. There's no point even doing a poll question. He is the GOAT of pro wrestling. Hulk Hogan dead. The Ontario judge is reading her ruling now on the charges of the players charged with sexual assault from the London incident in 2018. We don't have confirmation on it yet, so we're not going too far down that road. Unless, Lazaruk, before we move on, our co-host, before the end of the first segment there, when your screen froze, my poll question, which I don't think you heard, is what's the biggest story so far in the Canadian Football League season? Is it Luke Wilson from the CFL on TSN? Is it the surprising 5-1 Calgary Stampeders? Is it the surprising last place 1-6 Ottawa Redblacks, or other? How are you voting?
I go with A. I go with Luke Wilson. He's brought a refreshment to the discussion, and I know a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people think that he's being a bit of a poop disturber with regards to what he's saying, but he's bringing a lot of thought to the process, to the table, as far as I'm concerned, and people should stand up and take notice. I mean, TSN brought him in, and they're the broadcaster for the CFL, so the league knows what they were getting into when they said to TSN, hey, go ahead, hire who you need to hire. And TSN said, sure, we're going to bring in a guy who's going to ruffle some feathers maybe, but he's also going to tell it like it is. And he's telling it like it is. And I agree with him all the way. I mean, the one game when he talked about the quarterback sneaks and the preponderance of it, the amount that we see of it, he's absolutely right. I mean, how often do you get a 3rd and 1 or a 2nd and 2, and in comes the backup quarterback or the short yardage team to come in and get that first down? And the penalties that we see, there's so much of it. The one thing that I'm concerned about with the CFL, Rod, is the unsportsmanlike conduct, the misconduct fouls. Can we not maintain our emotions just a little bit? I know it's a physical game and tempers are going to flare, but that doesn't mean you get to just wind up and take a swing at everybody because you don't like it. And the chirping that goes on. I don't like that either, but hey, that's the way they play it. And I guess the misconduct penalties, maybe they need a little more meat to those things. Instead of 15 yards, hey, how about 25?
What's interesting about all this to me is a few things. Number one, Nelson, our VP of Sim Events, writes in, he says, people don't like people that force them to think, eh? Well, that's part of it, but more so, people don't like to hear the truth. And David Benefield wrote this on Facebook the other day. They're like, Luke Wilson isn't saying anything new. But most of us that have been trying to speak the truth have been exiled or ostracized from the league. Now in 2025, Luke Wilson's celebrated by the league, and that's what some of us can't quite figure out. They just don't want to hear the truth. Luke Wilson isn't saying anything new. Now, the other thing is, because the CFL media world now especially is so small, his voice is that much bigger. If there was a guy in the States trying to criticize the NFL or even the NHL, he wouldn't have as big, or her wouldn't have as big of a voice. But the way the media landscape is right now, you can't ignore Luke Wilson even if you wanted to. But kind of enough on that before I move on. Do you have any last thoughts on that?
No, outside of the fact that, the other options that you had there, Calgary 5-1. Yeah, I've already touched on that at the beginning of the show. And then Ottawa at 1-6. How much longer does Bob Dice get to continue to be the head coach in Ottawa when you consider that they were supposed to be a team that was supposed to contend for first place in the East this year?
Well, they're not firing anybody. So I hear that a lot. They've fired enough people out of there over the years. They got a fairly new GM in Sean Burke, and Bob Dice just signed a new deal. I get what you're saying, but they a good question would be, who will be the first coach fired in the CFL? I don't think it'll be Bob Dice. Now, of all these things, the Toronto Blue Jays. We've opened up the show all week with the Blue Jays. I've waited here now till quarter after the hour to get to it. The Blue Jays are on the road tonight for the opener of their 4-game series against the Tigers. Toronto took 2 of 3 off the Yankees this week, including an 8-4 win last night to go back up 4 games for first in the American League East. The Jays are tied with Houston for the best record in the AL. Detroit's a half game back. Let's stand back for a second, Les. This series with Detroit could be some sort of ALCS preview, maybe. I can't believe how much I care about the Blue Jays here in late July.
Yeah, late July, and we're talking about a first-place team against a first-place team within the American League's divisions. I mean, that's phenomenal. And it takes me back to the late 80s when the Blue Jays were pretty darn good and the Detroit Tigers were pretty darn good. And you had some great battles with Jack Morris on the mound for the Tigers. And, of course, you had the great Toronto teams with Jimmy Key, etc. I mean, hey, this is wonderful stuff. And good on the Blue Jays. Good for them to be able to. They do things the non-traditional way, the way baseball is now. They don't necessarily hit a lot of home runs like everybody does. They scratch and claw for their runs. They remind me of the old LA Dodgers back in the 60s that would, bunt and steal and, take extra bases here and there and take advantage of fielding errors. I mean, New York made 4 errors last night, and the Blue Jays made them pay every time. So that, to me, is the way baseball has to be played from time to time, not just how fast can you pitch it and how hard and far can you hit it. It's not baseball. There's still finesse to the game of baseball, and I like the fact that the Blue Jays play it that way a lot.
Hang on to your bingo cards, everybody. When Les is gone, I'll get to all of your questions, but we're on a baseball vein here right now, and you speaking of the Detroit Tigers made me think of something. I talked to our pitching coach last night with the Moose Jaw Miller Express, former Detroit Tigers starting pitcher, Dustin Mulliken. And I said, Dusty, as we were standing in line at the concession, I was getting a taco in a bag. He was getting a cheeseburger with extra onions. I said, Dusty, what do the Blue Jays need? And you know how he talks. He goes, one arm and one bat. And that's from a former starting pitcher in the majors. But let me say this. Were you not broadcasting the game a couple of weeks ago when Dustin Mulliken, our pitching coach, had a brouhaha with the umpire in Saskatoon, and Dustin took his shirt off at home plate and folded it up and put it on home plate? That actually happened, everybody. Can you explain that? What were you thinking, Les? What were you thinking?
I thought that, oh, good, Dustin Mulliken, he's learned from his Uncle Lauren, the former GM and head coach of the Saskatoon Blades, and, of course, a coach and GM in the Western Hockey League with quite a few teams.
And the NHL. And the NHL.
And in the NHL, of course, with the Chicago Blackhawks. But, Lauren was never afraid to let officials know what he thought. He would do so in a colorful way. And Dustin doing what he did that night in a game in which, quite frankly, the umpiring wasn't great with the balls and strikes on that particular occasion, and neither team was happy, so it was pretty much even. Joe Carnahan, the head coach of the Berries, got tossed as well before Dustin Mulliken did. But Dustin Mulliken, what he did just was entertaining. I thought it was great. My wife, who's my producer on our webcast, sitting beside me, is watching this, and she's going, "This is hilarious. This is funny." And at first she couldn't understand what was going on, but then when she saw him put the folded up jersey over top of home plate, as if to say, well, now you really can't see it because you haven't been seeing it all night long. Everybody was kind of taken aback by it at first, but really started to understand the humor behind it and the cause of it. And it was great entertainment. So good on Dusty for doing it.
Again, Dustin imitation. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Right? Oh, my God. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, in the Western Canadian Baseball League, our pitching coach, Dustin Mulliken, fighting with the umpire, took his shirt off, folded it up, and I can't move on from the story. Oh, yeah, Roddy. Oh, yeah. Okay. Baseball is something else, man. It is something. And he didn't get suspended. Everybody around the league said, what the hell? You can do that? It's Dustin Mulliken. That's the one thing. Lauren was always getting suspended. Dustin, I wouldn't try it again. But, Okay. Back to the NFL, Les. And thanks for joining me and having so much fun with me today. From NFL training camps, and we're going to get to a lot of the CFL stuff later, but Jeremy in Winnipeg writes in and goes, NFL training camps are on. Unless you're a New York Jets fan, Justin Fields was carted off the practice field with a toe injury on his right foot on Wednesday. Fields went down after an incomplete. No, it was this morning. Fields went down after an incomplete pass during team drills. He limped to the sideline with the help of a trainer. Coach Aaron Glenn was unsure about the specific nature of Fields' injury or how long he'll be out. He signed a 2-year, $40 million deal in March and is expected to start this season. Veteran Tyrod Taylor, T-Mobile, replaced him in drills. If Fields is sidelined for long, the Jets may need to find an experienced quarterback. So here we go. Injuries in camp. We're 2 days in. That's the story that I'm seeing, Les. How about you?
Yeah, that's always something that you worry about is injuries and who's available and who's not available. I mean, I just saw a bit today about Russell Wilson finally being able to attend Giants training camp, and geez, I don't know. I didn't even realize Russell Wilson had signed with anybody else until I saw that bit. I thought he maybe had retired. He should be close to doing so, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, that's the issue that you always have, though, come training camp time, is making sure that your stars stay healthy. And that's why you don't see a lot of starting quarterbacks play any preseason games. It's all about the backups. So it's surprising that Justin Fields was working. Mind you, again, he's new to the Jets, and they're trying to put in a new offense. So he has to get the work in now while he can. And for him to get hurt, that's a big blow for the Jets.
I feel sorry for Jets fans. It's been so bad for so long. Welcome in, everybody. We're live on Game Plus Television all across Canada, coast to coast, and 32 U.S. states. I'm just checking in with the crowd here. Hulk Hogan passing away today at age 71. Ozzy Osbourne the other day. Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in. He says, what a sad week for males of Gen X. Hulk and Ozzy gone. You know what's sadder? It comes in threes. So watch over your shoulder. Two gone. It comes in threes. We're saying Hulk Hogan, the GOAT of pro wrestling. And come on, Tony from Cochrane, Alberta. Come on. He says, rest in peace, Hulk. But the GOAT? My GOAT was the Stomper, Archie Goldie from the old Stampede wrestling days. Tony, if none of us have heard of the guy, I get that he's your GOAT. But come on. There's no bigger pro wrestler on the globe historically, I don't think, than Hulk Hogan. Some might say The Rock less, but I mean, I shouldn't speak for everybody in the world. I feel like I can, 8 billion people, but am I wrong in saying Hulk's the GOAT?
No, I don't think so. I mean, really, Hulkamania, Hulk Hogan came along back in the early 80s when Vince McMahon really started to go with, which was the Triple WF. It was the Worldwide Wrestling Federation at first. And when he kind of made that so huge that it took over the television airwaves and became bigger than all the other leagues, the American Wrestling Alliance, the National Wrestling Alliance, and all the various ones throughout the various local areas, I mean, everybody knew what the WWF was because of Hulk Hogan and people like, Bruno Sammartino was just finishing up his time there. And it was a big deal. So Hulk really was the face of pro wrestling at the beginning of the 80s and right through that decade and through the 90s as well.
Well, a couple things on that. I assume you watched the Vince McMahon Netflix series?
I have not, actually, no.
Oh, you got to watch it, man. I know you're a busy guy. It's a 5-part series, but they interviewed all these wrestlers, including Hulk. And listen, to call Vince McMahon a narcissist, I don't think would shock anybody. But all these wrestlers that were being interviewed, including Bret Hart, who I might put in the conversation for the greatest of all time, but it's still not. It's Hulk. What's that? Oh, about 2 minutes before we break. So hang on. Anyways, they were all zombies being interviewed. Hulk goes, everything I have, I owe to Vince McMahon. I'm like, oh, Vince sucked your brain out of your head like all narcissists do. But I'll say this about the 80s. Taylor failed Regina. They put up a ring on the turf. I was there. The Hart Foundation against the Killer Bees, Brian Blair. Oh, my God. I didn't sleep for weeks in anticipation of this thing. In the 80s, Les, WWF coming to Regina Taylor Field. Elizabeth was there. Oh, my God, the Macho Man. Yeah. Was there anything? I don't believe in our lifetime there was anything bigger than pro wrestling in the 80s. Not for me.
No, there wasn't. Not for me either. I had a lot to do with it, actually, in that particular time. Our buddy Kelly Rempel, who, of course, is big-time buddies with Bret the Hitman Hart, and he'll start giggling about this when he hears me talk about it. But a buddy of mine that I worked with was a fellow by the name of Bob Holliday, Doc Holliday, in Winnipeg, and he was...
Oh, we ran out of time. Hold that thought, Les. Hold that thought. How much before we break here, Corey? We'll be right back. We'll continue this after this.
Business owners and marketers, Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world! Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world! Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina. This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Oh, welcome back, everybody. We got some good stuff on the go here today. Well, and bad stuff, too. Hulk Hogan dead at age 71. We're awaiting the verdict from the Ontario judge on the players on the London, Ontario sexual assault case. Les Lazaruk with us, the voice of the Blades and the Berries. It's our final section with Les before he adjourns. Coming up in hour two, by the way, the voice of the Calgary Stampeders, Mark Steven. And speaking of the CFL, we were saying who's going to be the first coach or GM fired. Matt DeBuck writes in from Florida and says he's our Cardinal Gibbons high school friend coach. He says, I'm available in Ottawa. First hire, Jim Barker as the GM. Not only are the bodies not even cold yet, the guys are still on the sidelines. Come on, coach. Regarding the wrestlers and who's the GOAT, Mike Wynn in Winnipeg writes in. He says, I agree, Rod. Hulk Hogan is the GOAT. And that is brought down. They're saying Triple H. BW says Andre the Giant connected with the whole. Oh, no, sorry. Shy in Saskatchewan says Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Shy says, let's face it, on the prairies, there's nothing bigger than Stampede Wrestling. What shocks me is the inability for people from the prairies to consider the fact that there is life outside the prairies. Have you ever noticed that, Les? There's a lot of people that cannot get outside that vacuum, and I'm not going to allow that to frustrate me.
Well, I didn't know there was such a thing as Stampede Wrestling until I moved to Saskatoon, really, and that was in 1994. For me, the group growing up was the American Wrestling Alliance, which was headed up by Vern Gagne, and he had his son Greg as one of the star guys on the group. But Hulk Hogan came through there as well, and Mad Dog Vachon and Baron von Raschke and guys like that. They were phenomenal guys, but again, they didn't touch what Hulk Hogan and what the WWF did starting in the early 1980s. Bret the Hitman Hart joining that group as well. That group, Macho Man Savage, all that group was it. They were the ones that really took professional wrestling and elevated it to the next level, really, and a big the next level for everybody.
I didn't expect the road to go down this path, but I'm okay with it because it's entertaining, and that's what we do here. Ryan in upstate New York, Cardinal Ryan writes in, he says, some would argue Ric Flair is the GOAT, but Hulk Hogan had a greater impact on the culture. To be honest, Ric Flair was the only other guy that I thought of in the GOAT discussion. But I'll say this, man, and I kind of want to move on, but I don't know what I would move on to. This is what we're settling in here. You, Les, by the time you come back on, you got to go watch that Vince McMahon documentary, and I'll tell you why. Because they explained how in the late 70s, all these little wrestling tours, Stampede Wrestling is the one that we watched here in the Western Canada, but they're all over the U.S., right? Yep. And they were all warring factions. And Vince McMahon just came in and quashed them all with his.
Yes, he did.
Like, he's like a Jerry Jones. He's, dare I say, like a Donald Trump. They're businessmen. Yep. I don't know how they do it because I'm not like that. But it explains in the documentary how Vince McMahon took it to the next level. So when I sit there and say Hulk Hogan's like a zombie saying everything he owes is to Vince, it kind of is.
It is. It really is.
You know, and that's why these owners are the way they are. Yeah, and that's why these owners are the way that they are. So anyways, I didn't even tell anybody that the text line is open, 902-518-3033, because you got your Barry's hat on. And now I feel like I've let everybody down. I didn't wear my Miller's gear tonight. What do you guys got up there tonight? I haven't looked at the schedule.
Swift Current, the 57s are in. This will be the first home game here for the Berries since July 13th. They just finished going through a 7-game road trip where they went to, they were supposed to play a game in Medicine Hat, a makeup game for rain, and got rained out again. So that's still yet to be played. But they played 2 games in Okotoks, 2 games in Lethbridge, 2 games in Weyburn, and 1 in Swift Current. And now they're back home to the 57s tonight.
You guys packing the park up there like last year?
Pretty close, yeah. I know they've had the odd 2,100 game, which is capacity, standing room down the baselines, etc., down the boundary fences. Maybe seats like 1,400 tops, but people have still coming out. They're averaging in around the 1,800 mark this year. That's about the same as last year.
Yeah, same as us. Attendance is about the same. By the way, Les's Saskatoon Berries are at my Moose Jaw Miller Sunday afternoon, 2:05. It is going to be sold out, so get to the ballpark early, folks. Before I let you go, Les, and we still have plenty of time here, but what I thought would be the game of the week, I'll say it again, this game tonight, Calgary home to Montreal in the CFL. Mark Steven will preview it with us next hour, the voice of the Stampeders. I don't see it as that marquee of a game, but the vast majority of our viewers do. To me, it's Riders Elks on Friday night. And for you people watching up in Edmonton, have you named a starting quarterback yet? You and I talked about this yesterday, Les. It's got to be Trey Ford, but I don't think they've tabbed him yet. Nope. I think the Riders will go to 6-1. What are your thoughts on that game Friday night at Mosaic Stadium?
Well, I keep hearing there's a lot of people out there that seem to think that Cody Fajardo is going to get the start for the Elks, and it would be the first time that Fajardo plays at Mosaic Stadium since he was a member of the Rough Riders. So that's something. That's a big-time storyline. To me, I just think that if Cody Fajardo is the quarterback, I think that the Riders have a better chance of beating Edmonton than if they were to play Trey Ford. I'm a Trey Ford believer. Cody Fajardo was great when he was playing, but I don't think Cody Fajardo now is the Cody Fajardo back from 2-3 years ago. So I'm not convinced that this is a good move by the Elks to change quarterback. So I'm going with the Riders.
Okay. I was reading some comments here and I missed it. So they have named Fajardo the starting quarterback?
No, there's a lot of talk about it, but they have not. Nothing's been named officially yet.
I will bet that they don't, and I bet that they will start Trey Ford, but which I think is the correct decision. But I'm not.
I agree.
I'm like, you don't like to argue, and I like to argue even less with Les or anybody else. But this Fajardo thing, you know how close he and I are.
Oh,
It's
I know.
funny. You sit here and go, what more has the guy got to do? What more has he got to do to get respect? Literally the Rodney Dangerfield of the Canadian Football League. But I'll tell you what, it used to be, Les, coming up, you and I are around the same age. It used to be you can't lose your job due to injury.
That's right.
You don't really hear that anymore.
Nope.
In any sport, do
Nope.
you? Why do you think that
Nope.
is?
Just because it's, again, all about your results. What have you done for me lately? And if you've been hurt and the team started to win, especially in that situation, then how do you get your job back? Even though you really didn't lose it, it was injury that forced you out. People go, well, why are you going to break up a good thing by bringing back a guy who got hurt when the team maybe wasn't doing so well, or even if they were doing well? They continued to win with whoever was brought back in. The big catchphrase today, of course, is next man up. And if next man up is doing the job, then you don't have to go back to the guy who was injured.
Well, I think that's part of it, but I also think it's largely just there's no loyalty anymore.
Well,
Used to be you've earned something, right, as the veteran, whatever position you're in. It's not just a quarterback. But I'm just sitting here going, why people think this game tonight is so marquee because Davis Alexander, Montreal's quarterback, isn't even playing. He's on the 6th game now, I guess, with an injury that he only got in when Cody Fajardo got hurt last year. That's what made me go down this path. Cody Fajardo gets hurt less than a year after winning Grey Cup MVP and winning Montreal the quarterback, winning him Grey Cup, and all of a sudden he's shipped out of town. They flipped him. And I'm kind of thinking maybe you wish you still had him because they can't win without Davis Alexander, but they did win with Cody. That's all I'm saying. It's not just me getting defensive on behalf of Cody Fajardo. Across sports, you just don't hear that saying anymore. And I just think it's a distinct lack of loyalty as anything else. What are your final thoughts? Les, we got 90 seconds.
Okay, with regards to tonight's game with the Alouettes and Calgary, if Alouettes are in big trouble without Davis Alexander, because McLeod Bethel-Thompson, seriously, here, talk about Rodney Dangerfield. I have no respect for McLeod Bethel-Thompson. I don't think he's capable as a backup quarterback to win games for the Montreal Alouettes. So I think they're in big trouble for the next 6-7 games or however much longer Alexander's out. They need their top guy to come back in. I think Calgary waltzes tonight. I think Saskatchewan wins tomorrow night over Edmonton. And I can't remember the other games this weekend, but I wouldn't be surprised if home teams are winning those as well.
Winnipeg and Argos. I got Winnipeg to win. And BC home to Hamilton. I picked BC to win. The odds makers have Hamilton winning in BC.
Yeah, I would have BC winning as well. I think the Lions have to win this one, and I think you'll see some desperation coming out of them in order to stay in the hunt for a playoff spot in the West Division.
Lots and lots and lots of comments have come in on the Western Dodge text line. Gary in Winnipeg says Hulk Hogan died of an apparent heart attack at his Clearwater, Florida home. Bill in Brantford, Ontario says Ric Flair was the GOAT because he was flamboyant and he could wrestle. Signed Bill from Brantford. Hey, I guess there's no wrong answer. That might be a poll question for tomorrow. Who's the GOAT? Les, have a great call. Great job, buddy. We'll be right back.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're having a great day. It's been an interesting day. I'll tell you what. And thank you to Les Lazaruk. I love that guy. He knows that. My brother from another mother. Checking in from Saskatoon, co-hosting for the Moose. Moose not here. He's on vacation, but I talked to the Moose yesterday. He good. Sounds like he's heading back to the GTA today. Be back on the air with us next week. The Western Dodge text line is open, 902-518-3033. And you know, maybe you don't. We have a lot of new viewers. This is episode number 1541 of Canada's daytime sports talk show, and we're in season 7. And way back at the start, this actually, maybe for the first month, I would go to bed at night thinking about what I was going to talk about on this show the next day. And very soon I realized, no, not in today's world. Nope. And that's what makes this show fantastic, is we can pivot, we can roll, unlike a lot of others. Because here's what's going on today. A sports headline, sports update for Cool Bet Canada. Hulk Hogan, the mustachioed headscarf-wearing icon in the world of pro wrestling, has died at the age of 71. Florida police and WWE said today. Hogan's real name was Terry Bollea. He was perhaps the biggest star in WWE's long history. He was the main draw for the first WrestleMania in 1985, and it was a fixture for years, facing everyone from Andre the Giant and Randy Savage to The Rock and even company chairman Vince McMahon. Hogan was also a celebrity outside the wrestling world, appearing in numerous movies and television shows, including a reality show about his life on VH1, Hogan Knows Best. Put it in park. Drop anchor for a second. Past life. Oh. Was a bar in Tampa Bay called Hogan's Beach Bar. Yeah. So we've hosted these sports trips. Used to do it forever. Don't do it anymore. Might do it again. We'll see. It'll never be as wild as it was. So we went to Hogan's Beach Bar. I love it. And I was just by there not that long ago. Brent from Wellington, Florida, you were with me if you're watching right now. We're driving by it. It's not like his weeds growing, doors nailed shut, windows shuttered. For those from around here, imagine Craven. I'm not joking. Country Thunder on the ocean. And then like a museum of wrestling artifacts. Actually, Hulk Hogan wrestling artifacts. An absolute debauchery. And the manager was Jimmy Hart. Now, they've told me there was another Hogan somewhere, but there'll be nothing like this. So I used to go do my radio show, the one that I started when I was voice of the Rough Riders, and we did it on these sports trips all the time, and we were sitting on the shore of the Gulf of Mexico, which Hogan's overlooks. Large patio, live studio audience. It felt like ESPN. And I said to the staff, is Jimmy Hart going to be here? I understand he's the manager. And they're like, he'll be here. He's just not here now. You know how bar managers roll. You just never know. Show up when they show up. And anyway, so I'm doing the show just like this. There's 60 people lined up watching me, and I got my back against the bar. And all of a sudden, in the middle of it all, I'm talking just like this, and all of a sudden, everybody's gaze stops, and they all look over my shoulder. Who is it? Jimmy Hart. The mouth of the South. So you know me now, right? I'm like, Jimmy, sit down here. So he comes and sits down. I happen to be chatting with Keith Aldi of the Tampa Bay Lightning at the time, Duke Myers, and I can't remember who else we had on the show. Oh, Mike Abu-Meshri. I have photos of it, and I've never seen anything like this. We were doing that show. It was a radio show, so we all had headphones and mics, and Jimmy wouldn't put the headphone on because his hair was all teased, and he turned the headphones upside down and talked into the microphone like this. I'd never seen that before. Long story short, that was a Friday. The 60, let's call them farmers that were on my trip from Saskatchewan, turned Tampa Bay upside down. They painted the town red. They painted it purple, blue, green. And we came back on the Monday to do the show. And I was joined by David Black and Brett McNeil, two Blue Bombers greats, doing the show on the patio at Hogan's. And Jimmy Hart comes out again on the Monday, and I'm doing my radio show. And I said, Mr. Hart, I'm so sorry. This was not on the air, but I'll tell you this. I'll let you in on it. I said, Mr. Hart, I'm so sorry for what happened the other night. And he goes, well, what do you mean, Rod? Well, I just know that it got pretty crazy. What do you mean? Well, I saw photos of, people jumping on your bouncer's back and people taking a leak in the bushes out front, and people, got passed out, were being wheeled out in wheelchairs. They were all part of my group, and I want to apologize for that. That's not the way that we are. And he goes, I don't care. Your group was tipping $100 around. You got to come back anytime. Jimmy Hart, the mouth of the South. And the thing was, Hulk Hogan was not around. Hulk wasn't even in town. So there's volleyball courts, there's rent paddle boards, kayaks, there's a pool, it's like Craven and party. And anyways, every time I was in the Tampa area, I would go back. And I remember one time I was there and there was a cop standing inside the door. And I said, how come you're here? Is there a disturbance? He goes, it just saves time. They're going to end up calling anyways, so I'll just stay here. Okay, pretty wild. An Ontario judge is delivering her ruling in the sexual assault trial of 5 former members of Canada's World Junior team, saying she did not find the complainant's testimony to be credible. Superior Court Justice Maria Caroccia said today the court cannot meet its onus of proof for the charges in the case. She is still reading the reasons for her decision, or at least she was when we went to air, and she hasn't officially ruled on the charges against each player. Michael McLeod, Carter Hart, Alex Formanton, Dylan Dubé, and Callan Foote have all pleaded not guilty to sexual assault. The sports headlines are for CoolBet Canada. Get a welcome bonus up to $200 with the promo code RP200 at coolbet.com. As I said off the top of the show, when Les Lazaruk joined me to open this thing, this is highly, highly, highly delicate stuff. Way more different, potentially equally as dangerous as just bringing up Donald Trump like we did yesterday. I can't. A lot of hatred for that guy and a lot of love for that guy too. But as I said, all we did yesterday was talk about Trump threatening the Washington Redskins ownership or Washington Commanders ownership into changing their name back, or else he wouldn't approve the construction of their new stadium. And I walk into the ballpark last night here in Moose Jaw. Now, I understand they were pulling my leg, but the guys were like, oh, why are you talking Trump on there? I thought this was a sports show. I can't believe you'd be talking politics on there. What are you, a Trump lover? But I'm like, I didn't even say anything good about Trump. I just said I can't believe that he doesn't have more important things to do than this. And that's that. I mean, in a large way, when it comes to that, that's theater, that's fake news, as he likes to call it. This here with the players, far, far, far more serious stuff. And as I say, I can't stand when news intersects with sports. Because when it does, it's never good. Like the case of these players or the Humboldt Broncos bus crash. It's just never good. I just don't like it. But you sit here and host a show, and it's going to happen from time to time. Hey, Cindy. She writes in from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She says, so thrilled to be in the States today and catching the show. Glad to have you, Cindy. Appreciate you. How about this? Nelson writes in. He says, breaking news, Cody Fajardo will start against the Riders on Friday night. Now, we can walk this back for a second. I'm shocked. But having said all of that, and we can get on track with what I wanted to talk about today was the CFL and a little NFL. But Hulk Hogan and the World Juniors court case usurped that. But the coaches and GMs do know what they're doing. The one thing is it's very hard to change course in the middle of the season. And for Edmonton, while I think or thought Trey Ford would start and should start, you got to have faith in Mark Killam and Jordan McSimic. And if they split reps in practice this week, those two, Fajardo and Trey Ford, and you were going to say who was better based on analytics in practice, it's going to be Cody Fajardo all day long. He's got the highest completion percentage in CFL history. Won a Grey Cup. He's done a million more things than Trey Ford, but Cody Fajardo is not the future of the Edmonton Elks. Trey Ford, I thought, was. We're going to have to talk about this coming back in hour 2. And Mark Stephen will be joining us, the voice of the Calgary Stampeders, to preview what you folks voted the game of the week. Now, all of a sudden, this game Friday night, which I voted for game of the week, all of a sudden takes on a much bigger complexion. It's now Cody Fajardo, the exiled Saskatchewan Roughriders quarterback, leads the Edmonton Elks into Saskatchewan Friday night. Doesn't mean it's going to be a better game. As I was saying earlier, I was reading the game notes of this Calgary-Montreal game tonight. It's not that tantalizing. There's nothing real exciting about the Calgary-Montreal game tonight. I'm sorry. Battle of division leaders? Sure, it's July. I get whether fans of both teams are excited, but all of a sudden this thing, and thank you, Nelson, for writing in with a breaking news. Nelson writes in, he says, the split reps was the giveaway. If Trey's your clear number one, why would you split the reps? They hadn't to this point. To scare him. I mean, again, if you're going to put them up head-to-head against each other, Cody's going to win. He's going to win. He probably did in training camp too. That's my point, though, Nelson. This isn't open and shut. Trey Ford is supposed to be the present and the future. Now, how do you go back? This, more, and Mark Stephen coming up in hour 2 on Game Plus TV and streaming live.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Back at it. It's hour 2 of the RP show, everybody, and what a day it's been. Oh, my word. Out here in Western Canada, it's not even noon yet. And a lot's gone on for a Thursday. We usually do the quick 6 show topics, but it's breaking news. This will be not hard to fill this opening segment of hour 2 before we are joined by Mark Stephen, the voice of the Calgary Stampeders, to preview the game of the week in the CFL. It's tonight at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. And a ton of text messages have come in on the Western Dodge text line, as I've said, so I'll get to all of that. But here is your breaking news on this Thursday. Hulk Hogan, one of professional wrestling's most iconic figures, has died at age 71. Known for his muscular build, blonde hair, and handlebar mustache, Hogan was WWE's biggest star and even had his own reality show, Hogan Knows Best. He died today at his home in Clearwater, Florida. WWE expressed sadness over his passing, highlighting his role in bringing global recognition to wrestling in the 1980s. Fellow wrestlers Ric Flair and Brutus the Barber Beefcake shared heartfelt tributes, recalling Hogan's friendship and support during difficult times. Hogan's impact on wrestling and pop culture remains significant. And just off the top of our head, when we were joined by Les Lazaruk last hour, I said, Hulk is the GOAT of pro wrestling. He wasn't even my favorite wrestler. My favorite wrestler was Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Just so you know, who incidentally is another Florida guy. I can't believe Les Lazaruk had not seen the Vince McMahon documentary on Netflix, because you got to go, especially if you're a wrestling fan. Hulk's the GOAT. I try not to be closed-minded, but I don't feel like I can hear any other suggestions. And more than anything, rest in peace to Hulk. Condolences to his family. And thanks for the memories, because they were wonderful. The other news, an Ontario judge is delivering her ruling in the sexual assault trial of 5 former members of Canada's World Junior team, saying she did not find the complainant's testimony to be credible. Superior Court Justice Maria Carocha said today, the court cannot meet its onus of proof for the charges in the case. She is still reading the reasons for her decision and hasn't officially ruled on the charges against each player. Now, I'm not joking. I went into the wire service, and as of less than 15 minutes ago, she was still reading her ruling. And that's why, I'll be honest, my phone was going off like crazy this morning. I'm not going to tell you from who. Obviously, the hockey people. This is a much waited for day. And just a lot of people were saying, oh, the guys got off. The guys got off. It's kind of what the messages were. And I'm like, just wait. Sounds like it, but I don't know. Highly, highly delicate situation here. More delicate was what I was trying to say near the end of hour one than even talking about Donald Trump. So anyways, there's that. And then to get back on point, well, breaking news, thank you, Nelson, from the Canadian Football League. Cody Fajardo will be the starting quarterback for the Edmonton Elks at the Saskatchewan Roughriders Friday night. So that's a pretty big deal too. See what I'm saying about all this stuff going on? Now, before I jump back into what I had planned to talk about today, from the Western Dodge text line, and by the way, drive with confidence, shop Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, financing, selection, and service you can count on. Blair in Calgary writes in and he says, I know this is yesterday's topic. Worst or best trade? Quebec, Eric Lindros to Philadelphia for Peter Forsberg, Ron Hextall, Mike Ricci, Steve Duchesne, Chris Simon, Kerry Huffman, 2 first-round picks and $15 million. How about that? Looking forward to meeting you next week. Sounds like Blair's coming out to either the Sheraton Cavalier Airport Hotel for Tuesday's broadcast from the Western Canadian Pro Hockey Scouting Foundation induction, or Wednesday's broadcast live from Overtime Hockey Lanes. Either way, it's going to be big fun out in Calgary next week. Looking forward to getting out there. Thank you for the reminder, Wilf in Steinbach, Manitoba, for the poll question today, which is brought to you by EMJ Marketing. What's the biggest story in the CFL this year? And I haven't checked the updates on this yet, the latest poll, because there's been a lot going on. What's the biggest story? Here's your options. Luke Wilson from the CFL on TSN. The first place Calgary Stampeders, the last place Ottawa Redblacks or other, and 57% saying the biggest story so far this year in the CFL is the first place Calgary Stampeders. And that's heartwarming. That's why we have a vote. Votes. Because in my world, but I'm a media guy, so it's coming up all the time. Luke Wilson's coming up more. I'm sure the football guys are talking more about the Calgary Stampeders being in first place. What's got me scratching my head is last year the Stamps were a CFL worst 5-13. Wow, my math's bad. I think it was 5-13. And all of a sudden they got 5 wins before the end of July. And the football people telling me last year that they didn't have enough talent. Clearly that's changed. And now you look at who they've infused. Drafting Alfred #1, he's already Rookie of the Year. Signing my friend Derek Moncrief. Acquiring Vernon Adams. So they upgraded at some pretty key positions. And I guess if it's true that they had a talent issue last year, it is damn hard to switch gears on the fly. You know what I'm saying? As many will say, if the train's going off the track and you can see it, you still got to let it go off the track and have the train wreck before you can clean it up. And that's what you do in the offseason. That's what the Calgary Stampeders did. And they sure didn't wait long, did they? It was a week after Grey Cup that they acquired Vernon Adams from the BC Lions. And I'm sure that VA's having a big old laugh. And Dave Dickinson, too. I saw somebody write in here and say, the Dickinson brothers, apart, not good. Together, good. Oh, can't argue there. Anyways, Wilf brings up an answer from Steinbach, Manitoba on the Western Dodge text line. He says, hi, Rod. The Stampeders are a surprise and the big story. We are waiting for the real Stampeders and Vernon to surface. Luke is the #2 story. Well, as I say again, it's not 1977. We have the ability to track impressions, web hits, Facebook impressions, certainly from ours and the social media accounts we control, and our ratings. Luke Wilson is the number one story. There's statistical data to back that up, but it's not a hill I'm interested in dying on either. Chad in Lethbridge writes in on the Western Dodge text line. He says, "Good morning, RP. Now that's a coach getting tossed story." Hang on, I'll retell it. LOL. He says, "I love the passion down the stretch of all of baseball this time of year." Is that the legendary bobblehead shirt, RP? This is the legendary bobblehead shirt, and it's from the Florida clothing brand, Whole Life, the Whole Life brand. Mark Gundry, our friend down in Florida, owns the Whole Life clothing brand, and this was the very first shirt that he made me, specifically in Florida Panthers colors. And I talked to the Panthers today, by the way. Great people there in Sunrise, Florida. And Chad made the bobblehead, and this is the shirt that I was wearing in it. Oh, my goodness. Phone's going crazy. Okay. The story of the manager getting thrown out, it was a couple weeks ago, Western Canadian Baseball League, and former Detroit Tigers starting pitcher Dustin Mulliken is our pitching coach here with the Millers, with my team. Talked to him last night. And he got kicked out of a game recently in Saskatoon, arguing with the umpire at home plate, and Dustin took his shirt off, folded it nicely, and placed it on home plate. And that's what everybody was laughing about. And nobody in the league could figure out why he didn't get suspended for that, because everybody's getting suspended, but not Dustin Mulliken. Oh, it's because he was a major leaguer. It's nice for a Mulliken to get a break finally. Mark writes in from Yorkton on the Western Dodge text line. "Hey, you need a car, Mark? Come on down to Western Dodge." He says, "Hey, Rod, great show and always entertaining. Keep it up. If my memory is correct, interesting tidbit, I believe Hulk Hogan was offered the Foreman grill before they offered it to George Foreman back in the day. That's a story I hadn't heard, but it's a good one. I think Hulk's doing okay with the shekels anyways." Kirk in Toronto writes in. He says, "Hey, Rod, I grew up watching Maple Leaf Wrestling every week from Maple Leaf Gardens. That's where I first saw Hamilton Tiger Cat great Angelo Mosca wrestle." See, that's the thing. Well, I think we all across Canada, not just Western Canadians, got Stampede Wrestling. Am I right? Or am I not right? I don't know. You know, that vacuum that the people live in out here on the prairies, I was in that vacuum. So I know what it was like to not realize there's life outside that vacuum, because there are people writing in here saying, Hulk Hogan's not the greatest. Makan Singh is. Nobody even knows who that is outside the prairies, you guys. Can you think? That's all. And what Kirk in Toronto is saying, well, they had their own regional wrestling thing, Maple Leaf Wrestling. I've never even heard of it. What I do know about Stampede Wrestling is that it aired in, 52 countries? So that was worldwide. Nobody was bigger than Hulk, but nice try. Thank you, Gary in Winnipeg writes in, confirming, according to Edmonton Sports Talk, Cody Fajardo is listed to be the Edmonton starter. I can't imagine that they would play any skullduggery on that, Edmonton, which we've seen many coaches do over the years. Put one guy's name at the depth chart top, but don't have him start the first series. Hell of a story. Cody Fajardo's return to Saskatchewan. I'll be interested to hear the reasons from the head coach of Edmonton, Mark Killam, as to why they're going with Cody Fajardo. I mean, and I got to give the people credit, including Jason Fichtner from the All Rider Prider fan page, who said Cody Fajardo will be starting games for Edmonton by the end of July. And, well, would you look at that? It's the end of July, and Cody Fajardo's starting games. And from the outside, it looks like the Edmonton Elks have moved on from Trey Ford. I mean, if they lose with Cody Friday night, how do you go back? I guess you just do. But what does this say? And thank you, Gary, for the info. El Sasko writes in on the Western Dodge text line. Hey, Rodfather, did you eat your vitamins and say your prayers, brother? Awesome show. Can't wait for the return of Musa Mania and his 15-inch python. Well, it's bigger than mine. By the way, with my vitamins, just so you all know, I'm very happy about this. I'm going to pass it along. Remember a couple of Mondays ago, I had to miss the show. We didn't have a show that day. I was sent by my family doctor that I've had for 25 years for a battery of tests. Heart, x-ray, the usual, poked, prodded. And yesterday he says to me, whatever you're doing, keep doing. 10 out of 10, everything's clear. I will live. Some will not be happy with that breaking news. But that's the report from the doctor, who, as I was laying on his table a few weeks ago, says, what do you do for a living? You should know this. You've been my doctor for 25 years. Arlen Bruce writes in and says, good morning, RP. I voted other for personal reasons. I say the new commissioner, by giving players new opportunities to fulfill your dreams, is great. Okay. You're right, AB. Nobody ever said you were dumb, or at least I certainly never did. I should have had the commission. I came up with the poll question, and you're right. Arlen Bruce is the first guy to say the biggest story in the CFL this year is the new commissioner, Stuart Johnston, but I didn't think of it. None of you people thought of it. It took Arlen Bruce to think of it. How about that? James Mooner Warnicki writes in regarding the passing of Hulk Hogan. He says, the only wrestler you could say was as big or important as the Hulkster was Andre the Giant. And another fantastic story. Who doesn't love Andre the Giant? Dun, 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 dun. Rick Derringer, right? Real American. And was that not Madison Square Garden, 1985, Hulk Hogan versus Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff? Was it not the next year they went to the Pontiac Silverdome? Yeah, you were born in 85, Corey. What do you know? Right, so you don't remember. Well, maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe you do. That would be something if you did. Was it not the next year they went to the Pontiac Silverdome? And that's when the Hulk fought Andre the Giant. Yeah, that's what I thought. Here's the thing. People think I don't know this stuff. I know this stuff. But the thing is, once I went away to college and discovered a thing called girls, I pretty much stopped watching wrestling. So nobody was into it more than me in the 80s. And then after that, I had to find college and girls. I'm from a town of 600 people, man. The gene pool is very shallow. John Ohm writes in and says, congrats on the tests, Rod. Thank you. Not that I was worried, but I was like, yeah, it always feels good. I was like, I just went through all this to get into the States. Ryan in Saratoga, New York says 1987 was WrestleMania 3 at the Pontiac Silverdome. Well, it was 30 years ago, so we can be forgiven. It was 30 years ago. Bomber Boy writes in, he says, which sport of the big four is the hardest to officiate? I'm going to actually say, I got to think about that. But probably baseball. But the thing is, hockey is now the fastest sport by a mile. And I would think that would be very difficult. They're all difficult. How about that? Mark Steven joins us, the voice of the Calgary Stampeders, to preview the game of the week right after this.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Back live at Golden Ticket Sports Center in Moose Jaw, everybody. Make your birthday unforgettable at Golden Ticket Sports Center. Book your birthday party with us for a fun-filled celebration packed with sports, games, and endless excitement. Visit GoldenTicketSportsCenter.com to reserve your spot today. Very pleased to be joined by the voice of the Calgary Stampeders, Mark Stephen from QR Calgary, to preview the game of the week tonight. Montreal Alouettes to the Calgary Stampeders. But, Mark, before we get into that, you've heard the news. Hulk Hogan passing at age 71 today at his Clearwater, Florida home. He's the GOAT. Is he not? Would you argue that?
Yeah, I mean, wrestling was a very small regional thing until he came along. He became the biggest star and the biggest name, and he's the one guy. He transcended the kind of narrow spot of wrestling on the sports landscape. Everybody knows who he is. Some of these other fellas, I'm sure they're entertainers, but everybody knows who Hulk Hogan was.
You don't even have to be a wrestling fan to know who Hulk Hogan was. So our condolences to the family. And so our viewers aren't dumb, Mark. Our viewers are not dumb. They voted your game tonight, Stamps and Alouettes, as the game of the week in our poll yesterday. Obviously, you agree. What are you looking forward to tonight?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing first if the Stampeders can continue their remarkable start. They're at 5-1. Very few changes to the lineup from the one that beat Winnipeg the other day. The only thing I worry about is a little bit of fatigue. They've played a lot of games in a short period of time, but they look like they're ready to roll. No problems there. Montreal coming in with McLeod, Bethel, Thompson might be a bit of a different situation for him because he now knows he's going to be playing for a few weeks. He doesn't have to look over his shoulder and wait to see what's going on. So Montreal is a very good team too. Let's not forget they won the Grey Cup in 23. They had the best record last year, just got upset in the playoffs. So they still remain a very good and very powerful team, although they don't have Philpott in the lineup too, and that's certainly going to be a blow.
For the fans, by the way, of the Elks and Riders, there's news has come down out of Edmonton today that Cody Fajardo will start for the Elks Friday night. I'll get your thoughts on that in a second. But please, Mark, take me inside this remarkable turnaround by the Horsemen, because last year my football guys tell me the reason the Stamps were the worst team in the league was a talent issue. End of story, period. Pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, well, they changed their philosophy a little bit too. They were far more aggressive in free agency. They went out and made the biggest splash of any team in the offseason by acquiring Vernon Adams. Obviously they had to go and do things a little differently because it wasn't working. They were 5-12-1. They were more aggressive in free agency. They hit a home run and a couple of draft choices, and it's worked out very well. But Vernon Adams has been the centerpiece of this. Not the only thing, but he's been the centerpiece.
Right. Well, so it was an infusion of talent then. I mean, I don't think you're the longest serving voice in the CFL. I feel like you were never worried that the Stamps would turn it around. But I bet it was tough to go through for everybody over there. Well, you're not used to that.
I never thought they'd never turn it around, but you can't also just ignore they were 11-24-1 the last 2 years too. And, things had to change, and there's a bit of a cultural change, I think, too. Some guys like Flo Ormelad, who in addition to being an amazing player, is a real good leader. Derek Moncrief, a longtime Saskatchewan Rough Rider, he's evolved into a real leader, and so is Damon Webb. Maybe they didn't have enough of those guys last year. I mean, Reggie Begelton, and they're doing all this, by the way, without Begelton, he was sort of the leader of the team, and he's certainly a great character guy, but he's not the most vocal guy on earth. So here's where they are. So things changed a little bit culturally, too.
Man of the Year, by the way, Reggie Begelton last year with the Athletes in Action in the Canadian Football League. Well, here's one for you. I got a lot of friends in that Stampeders organization. And last game in Winnipeg, you're calling it. You probably didn't see it on the TV monitor. They showed John Huffnagel, wherever he was. I don't know if he was standing in the tunnel or on the sidelines or whatever. And my Stamps people, answer this to the best. You're smart. You'll answer it the way you should. They say Huff's here, but he's not doing anything. I'm like, how's that possible? What?
Yeah.
What's Huff's
he's around
role?
as a resource.
Okay,
resource.
An advisor, basically. An advisor.
Yeah, basically. He's around, obviously, but I'd call him a resource. But, he's not saying you got to run this play kind of thing. But he's in. He knows what's going on. But I'd call him, sort of a coach emeritus kind of status.
Okay, well, that's smart then, because the Florida Panthers have like 3 of those guys, one of which is Les Jackson, who you would probably know, an Alberta guy. And I asked Les, what do you do? He's like, I'm just around. Okay, what a great job. And get 2 Stanley Cup rings out of it. Well, here's the other one. I'm reading the game notes, Mark, for the game tonight. It wasn't overly tantalizing. Like if this was Davis Alexander going for 9-0 against Vernon Adams, I think it would be more marquee. Sell me on how this is the game of the week tonight, other than a battle of division leaders.
Well, Stampeders are 6-1. They're, the top team in the CFL. Can they extend that? Can Damian Alford continue his remarkable early season play? And can the defense, who's almost outscoring themselves, they've surrendered 7 touchdowns but scored 4. So those are some of the things that'll go on. I'm not as worried about Montreal, but I would just say I hope the Stampeders can respond at home after 2 very challenging weeks on the road.
Well, when you talked about VA getting acquired and Moncrief, you didn't mention Bob Slowick, and that's the one name that the television broadcasters are blowing up for a huge change, the defensive coordinator. So there was probably, some delicate moves made in the coaching staff. What are you seeing in the defense with Calgary? The numbers are amazing, but take me a little deeper than that.
Well, first of all, I guess Bob Slowick wasn't an acquisition. He was here last year, but in a lesser role. I mean, his resume obviously suggested he would be a defensive coordinator if he wanted to do it. Now, he's getting on a little bit. He's 71, so we can't lose sight of that. But the team had an organizational shift. They wanted a lot more bigger guys inside. That's why they went and got Miles Brown, among others, from Saskatchewan. They knew they had to retool the secondary with some more aggressive guys. Moncrief's applying a little bit of leadership and skill there. So it was a case of redefining the personnel and their philosophy. And Bob Slowick has come in and kind of put it together. He knows where to put the pieces, and he's done a remarkable job so far. But he was the defensive coordinator for 3 NFL teams earlier in his career, so he kind of can figure it out pretty quick here.
Tony in Cochrane's watching. He writes in, he says, the Stampeders' turnaround is due to cleaning house on the defensive side and getting rid of Meyer and Arbuckle. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says Rennie Paradis will likely reach 600 field goals tonight. So, okay, they're all, I'm not saying it's going to be a bad game. I'm just saying, reading the game notes, it would have been a hell of a story. At some point, Davis Alexander is going to go for a 9-0 start. It's just not going to be tonight.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, right. What's your read on Fajardo starting for Edmonton? I'm a little surprised.
Not surprised in the slightest. They've got to do something in Edmonton. You look at the standings, it's starting to separate a little bit. And just as the Stampeders haven't won the Grey Cup on July 24th, the Edmonton Elks aren't out of the playoff chase yet, but it's starting to separate. Right now it looks like in the East, there's 2 teams way at the bottom. If Edmonton's going to return to the playoffs, looks like they'll have to run down BC for a crossover spot. So they need wins, and they need them now. Ray Ford thing has gone on. I'm not saying he'll never return to the field, but for me, he's well into his tenure with Edmonton, and he's just been too inconsistent for me, and they need wins now. So, no, I'm not in the slightest bit surprised that, Fajardo's in there. Maybe Ford will come in as a bit of a change of pace guy, because at times he's remarkable. I've seen him make some amazing plays, but it's just not enough, and the Elks are under the gun already. I mean, it's another very slow stall out of the playoff chase. This has happened the last several years. I acknowledge Mark Killam wasn't there, but he inherits the legacy of teams that are out of the playoffs by August the 1st, and they don't want to do that again. So I'm not surprised.
Okay, well, fair, but I don't know what anybody expected. I had them picked for 5 wins. They're not even on pace to get that, and that's with whoever's starting. So, hey, it makes for must-watch TV Friday Night Football, obviously, Mark. Hey, I got to ask, while I have you, tell me your Smoke Bowl weekend and the delayed game at Mosaic Stadium. Was that the longest weekend of your life?
Yeah, it was kind of, I guess, actually. Yeah. Obviously when you got up in the morning, it was certainly a possibility. When you got to the stadium, it wasn't getting any better. We stayed on till the game was actually formally canceled by the league at 10:45. I want to credit both teams, but particularly Saskatchewan, for scaring up rooms on extremely short notice on a very, very, busy weekend already, even without the football game because of the country music event. So, it was terrible on Friday night. Actually, if you want the truth, the worst weather was at about quarter to 11 or 11 whenever we were leaving the stadium. It really got dark. So even if they started the game, I think they might have had to reconsider it. So specific to that, look, nobody could do anything about it. I don't think communication was very good either by the CFL or to the riders, to their fans. I think they needed to do more of it, because a lot of people sat there just waiting and waiting. And I acknowledge nothing could be done. They had every hope of starting the game. The CFL is going to have to have a policy. It's one thing to delay a game, but there's nothing that I saw anyway in their regulations and about a game being kicked over to the next day. And, is the CFL going to have to account for this? Because both the Rough Riders and the Stampeders were hit with whopping bills they weren't expected. I mean, the Rough Riders basically had another home date with all the expenses that go with that and zero ticket revenue to substitute with. And, unrelated, but they made nice gestures to their fans. The Stampeders had to stay an extra night. There was a plane sitting on the runway and just a whole bunch of things that came up at the last minute. So it was tough. It was chaotic. I'm not going to blast anybody. I would just simply say that if something like this happens, both the host team and the league must do a better job at communicating what's going on. They just put something out at 7:45. Okay, that's great. But, there was a lot more waiting after 7:45.
Oh, well. Hey, the Rough Riders got lots of money. I don't know about the Stampeders, but they'll be fine. I heard that you guys stayed on the air through the whole thing.
Yep.
How did that go?
Well, and here's one of the issues, too. Yeah, we stayed till the game was formally canceled, and we had some good contacts about what was going on, and people in Regina were saying they were getting their information from us. No, that's not right, but so be it. I don't care. that's where they get it. That's where they get it. So,
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me a ton either. Hey, while I have you, and by the way, folks, Mark Stephen with us, the voice of the Calgary Stampeders from QR Calgary. The Stampede Bowl was a lot of fun, and my buddy George Cortez always said, Rod, we'll never play during the Stampede. Well, lo and behold, you did, and it looked like a lot of fun. That's going to be a thing now, huh?
For the next 3 years, yeah, this year and 2 years for sure, and I got to think it's going to carry on. See, they've always leased the parking lot for the Stampede to some traveling RV group, so they had to juggle around that. It's a decision that you don't want to try to outshout the Stampede because the calendar in Calgary is really 50 weeks and the Stampede. They're different, okay? It's just different, and the city is taken over by it. But the one thing they really did is partnered with the Stampede, and it became kind of a Stampede event. So that attracted a lot of people. The Stampede's draw is worldwide. The Calgary Stampeders is regional and national. So it was a very good move to get the Stampede on board, get the Stampede promoting it. You know, in the middle of the regular season, okay, it was a bowl. Yeah, it's a little bit made up, but who cares? So it was the Banjo Bowl. It's just something a little different. Brett Michaels came to town. He was really fired up. There was a lot of hype around it. So full marks to everybody from the Calgary Exhibition and Stampede, the Calgary Stampeders. It was a hit, and I sure hope it's on the calendar for many years to come.
I couldn't agree more. I love when people work together, and even more when it is a success. And it was that night, and it sure the hell was for the Stamps. I raced home to watch the game. My only complaint on that was it wasn't much of a game. You guys kicked the crap out of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers from neck to navel that night. Calgary Flames, how are we looking?
Well, they seem to have an ability to head to the middle of the pack all the time. I don't know if they've substantially improved themselves. I don't think they're any worse than what they were last year. I think kind of hanging out there is the Rasmus Anderson trade, and that seems to be coming. Will that happen before the start of training camp, or will it be carrying on into the season? I don't know. They do have a pool of young prospects that I think are going to start to make a difference. You know, Zane Perek is there. Breskovich, the defenseman, is there. I don't know. I'm never going to rip them for being awful, but I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to knock off a few teams in the conference either. Last year was remarkable at 96 points, set a record for the most points without qualifying for the playoffs. The good part of that is Dustin Wolf was amazing, particularly at home. Can he do it again? I don't know, because, he did a lot of magic because the Flames were 29th in goal scoring. That's just a compliment to Wolf that we're even having discussions in April about a playoff spot. So, have they substantially improved? I'm not prepared to say that, but I'm not prepared to say they've taken steps back either. So 16th, Here we come.
Well, I was in Sunrise when the Flames were there, and it was Dan Vladar in net. I had to rub my eyes. I thought it might have been God, the way he was playing that night. But he's not back, right? He's gone.
Yeah, he went to Philadelphia, and I kind of get it. He wanted to play. He's a little older, and, he had some time here and did do some good things, but that's why Philadelphia went out and got him 2 years, 3.5 each. So they went out and got him. I'm not sure who the backup is going to be here, whether they go to the AHL or bring someone in from the outside. But this is Dustin Wolf's ball to run with, and he'll get, I'm sure, 60 starts, and then we'll see where that takes them. But good for Vladar. As I say, Philadelphia went out and got him. They saw enough in the games because they've had perennial goaltending problems. We'll see if Vladar can finally stem the tide.
How's the rink construction coming?
Terrific. It's right on time, right on schedule. You drive by, you see all the fencing around and all of the different things, the utility graders there digging them out and putting all the necessary stuff in place. So it looks, as we hear right now, it's on time, on schedule. That isn't always the case with big public projects like that, but right now it looks fine. No. And, it's on schedule to open September of 27. That's the plan anyway, and we'll see, but it looks good so far.
Nelson, our VP of Sim Events, writes in. He says, it would be wild if the NHL could get the sea of red and the oil patch rolling in the playoffs, a license to print money. Well, I think we're going to those days. I really hope that we are. And lastly, I'll wind this up with the NFL. Training camps are on. Is your team the Denver Broncos now because of Alex Singleton, or who is your NFL team?
Well, first, Alex is certainly. I saw him. He came up. He's up twice in the last month. Actually, talked to him. I watched them because of them, but probably the team I follow the closest is the Arizona Cardinals because like Phoenix. So I follow them. They're slowly inching up the standings. Whether they can make it this year, I don't know. But I follow them, and I also follow the LA Chargers, who have Dean Leonard, a Calgarian, playing on their team as well. So those are teams I follow, but most closely it's Arizona.
Isn't it nice to have Alex Singleton show the love for the Stamps and the CFL like he does? Like, he's just that kind of guy. I'll be honest, Mark, you and I both been around a long time. I've seen very few guys that love playing the game as much as Alex Singleton.
If the CFL could match the dollars that he's making in the NFL, I don't think he never would have left. Never would have left. But
is that right, huh? I mean,
believe that.
There was a night. You guys have had this success in Regina, which is inexplicable.
Yeah,
but I remember one game, that you'd won, and he was dancing around. I was still calling the game, and I was getting mad. You know me. I'm like, go down the tunnel. You won the game. But I'm like, you know what? I can't not love the guy because he's just having fun. I've never seen a guy have as much fun as Alex Singleton.
He just loves Calgary. As I say, came back here twice. Once was for an opening night special they had to honor players from all their Grey Cup teams, and then he came back for a wedding with somebody. So that's how close he is. He came back for a wedding of a friend.
Greatest
that
Stamps
only met
linebacker
here
ever?
in Calgary. Yeah. Sorry?
Who is the greatest Stamps linebacker ever?
Wayne Harris.
Oh, okay. Who's number 2?
Alondra Johnson.
I was going to say AJ, number 55. Okay, I was close. Okay.
Alex,
stuff,
the only
Mark.
thing that mitigates against putting Alex way up there is length of time. He only played 3 years. So 3 amazing years, but only 3 years. So that's it.
Won a Grey Cup in that time?
Yeah, he did. 18, yeah. So that was his last CFL game, was standing on the stage in Commonwealth with the Grey Cup in his hands.
What a way to wrap it up. Okay, Mark Steven, thank you so much from QR Calgary. Have a great call tonight.
Yeah, looking forward to it. A lot of fun. Stamps have played a lot of football, and it's a lot of fun. They've already matched their win total from last year, so see if they can exceed it tonight.
It's going to be fun. Have a great call. Mark Steven, the voice of the Calgary Stampeders from QR Calgary, always helping us out. Such a great guy. Sports update and viewer takeover when we come back after this break here on Game Plus TV and streaming live.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back, everybody. The RP Show continues. Here we are on Game Plus Television, whether you're watching live or on the replay. I appreciate you. We all appreciate you. 902-518-3033 is the text line number to reach us. It's brought to you by Western Dodge, proud partners of the RP Show. Western Dodge and Moose Jaw, big city selection with small town service. I'm very proud of the way that we've handled today's show. Some very serious topics, handled it well. There's a lot that we don't understand. No, I won't speak for it. There's a lot that I don't understand about the legal process. And for our U.S. viewers that don't really understand the culture of what goes on in Canada, but you're tuned in here because you think it's interesting. My circle, we're all waiting on bated breath, and I think it's larger than just my circle, which is hockey people and sports people. The whole country is waiting for this news coming out of Ontario. An Ontario judge is delivering her ruling in the sexual assault trial of 5 former members of Canada's World Junior Hockey team, saying she did not find the complainant's testimony to be credible. Just stay with me. Superior Court Justice Maria Carocha said today the court cannot meet its onus of proof for the charges in the case. She is still reading the reasons for her decision and hasn't officially ruled on the charges against each player. Now, in the break, producer Corey can see me sifting through my phone, and I never thought Instagram would be a place that I would go to get news, but it is. And there's reports out there that the players are visibly relieved outside the courtroom. And I'm like, well, this is saying she hasn't officially ruled on the charges against each player. Like, I don't really understand it. And that's why, as I said to my 12-step sponsor, Bob, this morning, because he's all over this, he's like, sounds like they got off. I'm like, I don't know. Just, it's such a highly, highly delicate situation here and a sad one overall. I think that, I would like to think that after today, everybody can move on, but I think we all know, is that going to be the case? Like, I go back to a few weeks ago when we were talking about Carter Hart, one of the players on trial here, and whether or not he'll sign with his hometown Edmonton Oilers. And there were those that were saying, oh, come on, that's not appropriate to talk about. Well, this is before the courts. I get where you're coming from, but I'd like to think us talking about Carter Hart and the fact that I know for a fact it's been reported, the Oilers and maybe any other team in the NHL that's looking for a goaltender have at least discussed it, because that's what teams do. If you don't, you're an idiot. And the fact that we're talking about that should not impact this judge's decision. If you, as we say in the program, play the tape to the end, right? And jump to conclusions and all that. The judges, newsflash, judges are smart. To the other news of the day, Hulk Hogan, one of professional wrestling's most iconic figures, has died at age 71, known for his muscular build, blonde hair, and handlebar mustache. Hogan was WWE's biggest star and even had his own reality show, Hogan Knows Best. He died today in Clearwater, Florida. WWE expressed sadness over his passing, highlighting his role in bringing global recognition to wrestling in the 1980s. Sad one there, but the interesting thing about the Hulkster is he made it to 71. That's pretty good for a guy that in the Vince McMahon documentary made zero bones about the fact that he was a steroid user to the max. I've worked in sports long enough to know that You don't get a body like that without a little help. I wouldn't know because I don't do that. Look at my body. I'm just saying. And now, having a home in Florida and traveling in those circles, the one thing that makes me the most happy on this story for Hulk Hogan is everybody tells you what a great guy he was. And I told the story an hour ago about his bar, Hogan's Beach Bar, and the fact that Jimmy Hart managed the bar for him. I think Jimmy needed the money, the mouth of the South. Here's Hulk Hogan giving Jimmy a job just because that's his guy. And you need friends like that in this world. And it wasn't Jimmy Hart that told me Hulk Hogan's a great guy. He didn't have to. But all the sports people, not like I'm around the wrestling people or anything like that, but the word around the Sunshine State is that Hulk Hogan was a great guy. And I think that's what we would all like to be remembered for, or at least me anyways. 902-518-3033. We're coming back with Overtime, our final segment. So whatever you would like to talk about, we will get to it. Laverne in Swift Current writes in. He says, R.I.P. Hulkster. Graham in Calgary says, nothing more powerful than Hulk against Rock at WrestleMania 18 in Skydome. We'll be right back after this.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is the RP Show. It's overtime. Brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. What a show today. I feel like there are very few broadcasters that could have pulled it off. We'll be at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary next Wednesday, 10 a.m. to noon. We got a lot of our Calgary viewers saying they're going to come down, whether it's the Sheridan Airport Cavalier Hotel on Tuesday or Overtime Hockey Lanes on Wednesday. You're invited for it all, but it's going to be a quick trip in and out and back here to Moose Jaw because I got baseball duties. But we're so glad to have you tuned in and so glad for your support. There are some things that, frankly, I didn't even get to on the show today because Hulk Hogan died. Okay? And then the World Juniors player thing's coming down the pipe. So they weren't groundbreaking things for that matter, but yeah. Moose will be back on the air next week for those that are asking. The Moose, he's out here in Saskatchewan. He's taking a week off. He's traveling around with his fiancée, Leanne. Here's the thing that people don't know. We're at different stages of our lives. Moose wants to take a week off, take a week off. As a matter of fact, in August, he's going to be taking 3 weeks off because he's going to be working the Canada Summer Games, which he always does. I'm at a different stage in my life. My parents have both passed away. I'm not traveling around visiting family like he's doing, and that's cool. We're on the air here doing our thing every day. And it is by no means heroic, just saying that's where he is. And we're having a lot of fun bringing in our friends and talking about different topics than normal. But what I wanted to get to was in the NFL, this specific part. We just didn't have time with Les Lazaruk, but it was in my Quick Six show topics. The NFL often sees last place teams bounce back to win their division, with 25 teams achieving this since 2002, worst to first. 25 teams have done it in the last 20 years, one per year. The San Francisco 49ers are strong contenders this season to do it after going 6-10 in 2024, largely due to injuries. That can't be right because they play 17 games. Let's just say 6 wins. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what they had. They now benefit from a last-place schedule and retain players like Nick Bosa and Christian McCaffrey. Other teams in the mix include the Patriots, Bears, Titans, Saints, Raiders, Giants, and Browns. Each has reasons for optimism, like coaching changes or key player additions, but also face challenges, such as tough divisions or roster gaps. That's something that I would like to delve into a little more tomorrow on a Football Friday. Kevin Hughes will be joining us, by the way. Kevin the Medium will be riding shotgun with us tomorrow in the absence of Moose. These guys are all talking about something that I'm not involved in the conversation. I always love when I'm an outsider in my own show's conversations in the chat room. Actually, it's good. I can just stay out of it. A lot of people from Alberta are tuned in there, and they're excited. 902-518-3033. Corey, are you still there? What the hell was I talking about? What was I talking about? Was it of anything of substance? What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, it's all good. Jeff, the Stamps fans, lighting up the comment section with, "Go, Stamps, go." You didn't get enough Stamps talk today? With Mark Steven on here for 20 minutes? But here's the thing. I'll let you in on this. I was saying earlier that my doctor said to me, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Because he goes, your levels, your blood, everything's great. Vitamin D, cholesterol's extremely low, your weight's down, whatever. I'm like, I walk. I'm that guy for miles and miles and miles every morning in Waccamaw Valley. I cannot get enough of it here in Moose Jaw. And I listen to videos. I think I've told you they're motivational videos, specifically Denzel Washington. Who would have known he's become this great motivational speaker? But anyways, I jump in my car from Western Dodge, and I'm driving down here, and I flip on ESPN radio for a taste of home. And the very first thing they're talking about on there was the Miami Dolphins. And I'm like, oh boy, I forgot. Because here in Canada, we're talking about different things right now than they are in America. NFL training camps are open. So for the next 6 months, that's all we'll hear about. And when I first went down there 4+ years ago, it drove me crazy. Similar to all the hockey talk in Canadian NHL markets, like even in the summer. Couldn't get away from it. But now I've realized, click. But anyways, I kind of enjoyed it today when I turned on ESPN, and the very first thing they were talking about was the Miami Dolphins. And I'm like, well, I kind of got tired of it when I was down there, but it's the Dolphins are soft. And how long before Tua Tagovailoa is hurt? And do they have adequate backup quarterbacking? And I'm like, this is the stuff you hear every single day, all day in South Florida. But I'll never forget in Calgary that summer, my God, when Johnny Gaudreau was going to free agency and Matthew Tkachuk was a year away from it, it was insane. I remember we were doing the show from the Grey Eagle Casino in Calgary, and I'm just sitting there after the show having a coffee, watching the TV in the sports bar, and one of the security guys comes up and he's like, where do you think Gaudreau's going? We just talked about it for 2 hours. And then it's Calgary. They have Game Plus TV there on Rogers, Shaw Cable, and TELUS, so they knew who I am. So I'm going to the golf. No, I'm never to the golf course. Going to the gas station, the grocery store. Where do you think Gaudreau's going? Where do you think Kachuk's going to sign? Oh, my God. Tapping out. So that's all. That's why we like to talk about a variety of things here on the RP show. And then you get away from it. And then you come back like this morning as I land the plane here and just tune in ESPN radio for 5 seconds. They're talking about the Dolphins. And it's like, that feels good. That feels good. Thank you to Mark Steven. Thank you to Les Lazaruk. Thank you to our Skycron crew. Ryan McCarthy says, if I'm not mistaken, Denzel Washington is an ordained minister. Enjoy the day, Rod Squad. I knew he was a cool guy, so we're all in the same club, Ryan. Is that what you're saying? We'll see you tomorrow for a Football Friday with Kevin the Medium and Jim Barker, 5-time Grey Cup champion. We'll be talking NFL and CFL, everybody. Be good to each other.
Now I'm the whore and the pimp. That's where the money is.
How about that?